Hi Cyberclass, it's Professor Opterbek. I wanted to give you a brief overview of the first week, online week of our class, as well as a little bit of an overview of the class as a whole, of the semester as a whole. So first let me talk a little bit about the semester as a whole. As you know, this is a hybrid class. I've been doing this class this way for a number of years. We meet online throughout the semester, and then we come together in person for three Saturday afternoon meetings that I call summit meetings. In those meetings I bring in guest speakers, I do some exercises and other lecture and other activities with you. And then this year, since we have a number of students taking the class as an AWR, those students will at one point be presenting their work in progress to you. And I found that this is a nice mix of kind of the online and the in-person, and it also lets day students and weekend students take the class together. So if you take a look at the syllabus, which you will find in the content section of the website, I'm just going to go to the content section here for a moment, and you will see the syllabus. If you download the syllabus, it has all of the details you need, whether you're taking the class as a non-AWR or as an AWR. Now let me note something for both of groups who are AWR and non-AWR. During the online weeks of the class, every week there's going to be a discussion, there's going to be reading, there's going to be some videos for you to watch, sometimes things that I've produced or lectures that I might do with a PowerPoint or external things that comprise kind of the lecture portion of the class, and then the reading, and then there's a discussion board. And you need to participate every week in that discussion board. You need to post an initial post of about 500 words, generally by Thursday of the week, and then you need to respond to two classmates in about 250 words each by Saturday of that week. There's generally no right or wrong answer in the discussion boards. You know, they're prompts. It's kind of like we're having a discussion in class. Those discussion boards are graded. They're part of your grade. In general, if you're participating, if you're putting in an effort, you're going to end up getting full credit for the discussion board. And I'm not literally counting words, but you know, I have a pretty good feel for what's roughly around what we're looking for and what isn't. So generally, if you're not doing it, or you just throw in a sentence or two, you're not going to get full credit. There is also every week a quiz. The quiz will usually be open by midweek. The quiz is 10 questions, can be multiple choice, can be true false, can be fill in the blank, and the quiz is not meant to be difficult. It's meant to be basically a review, again, of the reading and of the things in the video for that week, and the quiz has to be completed no later than Saturday, generally speaking, of each week. I say generally speaking because right at the end of the semester we have some kind of odd scheduling days, and you'll see that in the syllabus. Again, it's not meant to be difficult. Generally, you should be getting 80 or 90 or 100 on the quizzes. If you are having problems with the quizzes, let me know, and we can work on that. But that is also a part of your grade. Now, if you're taking the class as a non-AWR, the biggest part of your grade is going to be your final exam, which is a take-home final. And we can talk more about that as the semester goes along, but the final is usually, and I'm sure it will follow the same format this year, an issue spotter on certain legal concepts, particularly computer crime concepts, and then a short answer section, and it's a take-home exam. And those of you who are doing AWRs, of course, the bigger part of your grade is your paper. If you are doing the AWR, please look at the syllabus and make note of the different deadlines for submitting an initial outline and an initial draft. I'm not grading the outline or the draft, but if you don't do them, then that's a way that you can get negative discretion. Now, I've never awarded negative discretion that I can recall, so I don't expect that to happen. Just get things done. If you're having a problem, let me know, and we can work on that. So that's a bit about the format of the class, and as we go through, I think it'll become intuitive. And of course, if you have questions, always let me know. I'm accessible through the law school's email, and we can always set up a time to talk in person, either in my office at the law school or on Teams. So let's talk a little bit about the whole structure of the class. And if you have any materials from previous years from friends, or you've talked to people who've taken it previous years, it's pretty similar to previous years, but I have changed it a bit this year. Part of that is changes in the law, and part of that is changes in some of the emphasis that I want to do. So we still are going to begin in this first week with a bit of a primer on internet governance. And cybersecurity, privacy, cybercrime, these things all, since they're cyber, have to do with this incredible phenomenon of the internet. So I do think it's important that you have some sense of this really loose, soft concept that we call internet governance. There is no international internet treaty. The internet is not established through some act of Congress. There's a lot of soft law. There's a lot of social norms. There's a lot of things that just technology has developed, and many of those things are enabled by certain policy choices that have been made, particularly in the early days by the United States, since the early parts of the internet really in many ways grew up in the United States, but also in Europe and in other parts of the world. So in this first week, you just get a feel for some of these soft law instruments and some of the soft law institutions that help govern the internet, and some different legal theories about what internet governance means and what it is. Now, in the past, I had done a bit more of this, and I actually scaled it back a little bit this year because I wanted to spend a little bit more time focusing on different aspects of computer crime than I have in the past. So I'm just pulling the syllabus up on the screen here, and you can see in the syllabus there's a schedule throughout the whole semester. All of the readings are provided through hyperlinks. You have them in the syllabus. You do need to look each week. I'll be opening up on Blackboard that week's materials. So use the syllabus, but it's best actually go to Blackboard. Sometimes I'll update something. I might fix a link, or I might add something that I just saw that was in the news that's good for us to look at for that week. Plus, the video lectures are all on Blackboard, the quizzes, the discussion boards, all on Blackboard. So we have this bit of governance, and then we're going to get right away into the question of cyber crime, and how do we define what is a crime in cyberspace, and what are some of the difficulties of drawing distinctions between stuff that's criminal and stuff that might be experimentation or social commentary or other things like that. We then look at the primary U.S. economic cybercrime statute, which is the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, as well as some related things in the European Union. And then we move into the question of personal security online. So I think there's economic cybercrime, which is what we often think of when we think of cybersecurity, but there also is this really important and somewhat difficult domain of personal security. So things like cyber stalking, cyber harassment, sextortion, cyber extortion, things like that. We will look at, and then we move into a unit on talking about the relationship between privacy and security. Now, I want to note that some of these units can be a little bit difficult. The material on cyber stalking, for some people, you might have had experiences with that, and it can be difficult. And we will also talk a little bit later in the semester on online child protection, and human trafficking and child pornography, and those are very difficult topics. So I understand that, and I just want you to be aware, and you can see that when it comes up. All right, so we do kind of the stalking and so on. The relationship of privacy and security, and this is some stuff I've really worked in a new way this semester. I've always had things in this course about privacy, but I really want to focus on how privacy and security relate, so we will talk about that. By the way, if you are interested in data privacy in more detail, we cover it somewhat in this class. I'm teaching information privacy law in the spring, which is other aspects of information privacy if you're interested in that, in addition to the Cyber 2 class. Then I have a little bit of, not quite a detour, but a little bit of a focus on technology platforms and their relationship to privacy and cybersecurity. And in the US, this particularly, I think, comes to a head in Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And you might know what that is already and have heard some of these debates. If not, you'll see what some of that is when we get to it. We have these units of online child protection. Again, kind of difficult stuff, but it's stuff we have to cover. And it includes child pornography, which is an enormous problem. And it also includes the vulnerability of children, particularly in the educational system, so cyberbullying, and kind of some of the problems with policing that, as well as children's online privacy. So then we have a couple of units on the relationship between private law and cybersecurity. So public law is the Constitution, is regulatory law, whether at the federal or state level. Private law is a lot of the stuff you study in the first year of law school. So torts, contracts, property. So how do contracts relate to cybersecurity? How do we structure our relationships online? So we have some things about online contracting in relation to security. And then how does the tort system relate to cybersecurity? I'm particularly interested myself in my legal scholarship on data breaches. I've written a number of articles. You're going to get a chance to read a couple of those articles this semester, and we'll talk about how that works. And then related to this, third-party risk and insurance. Now, I have a bit on third-party risk and insurance next semester if you go on and take Cyber 2, or if you've already taken Cyber 2 before you took Cyber 1, in the kind of skills portion of that class. And if you go on and take Cyber 2, we'll talk more about that and some more particulars about underwriting and risk management and things like that. But here, it's really a private law question as I'm approaching it in this class. It's related to contracts, but it relates to third-party risk. And so we'll talk about that. And then as we get toward the end of the semester, we'll look at some emerging issues, a little more detail about the problem of ransomware, but we'll also look at cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing, all really kind of cool and interesting topics. I'm doing a bit of work on law and AI these days as well. And then right at the end, we'll talk about international cooperation. As I said, there's no international internet treaty. There are a couple of treaties and conventions that relate to cybercrime. There's no international cybercrime court. We'll talk about some of that. And that actually will set up, if you go on next semester and take Cyber 2, we'll set up for Cyber 2 when we talk in more depth about the law of war, cyber war, and national security. As I said, the summit meetings are interspersed throughout this. Right now, you just need to make sure those dates are clear on your calendar. Those meetings go from 1:15 to 7:15 in the afternoon. Yes, they are very long meetings. We take some breaks. We should be meeting in person to a significant extent again. So if we do that, hopefully we'll order some pizza and do things like that. With guest speakers and everything, they actually go pretty quickly. And I will be releasing schedules of the summit meetings as we get closer to them, when I have kind of all the speakers lined up and booked. Do note, though, that this year, Summit Meeting 2 on October 22nd is going to be a day on which those of you who are doing AWR papers, you're going to be the main speakers at that meeting. You're going to do brief 10-minute or so presentations on your work in progress. Take a look in the syllabus. You can see that, and I'll talk to you a little more about that as the semester goes on. Again, that assignment is not going to be graded. If you just don't show up for some reason or just blow it off, that's going to be a problem. I don't expect that to happen. And it's all about really you getting a chance to talk about what you're doing and get a little bit of feedback on what you're doing. All right, so I hope this is helpful as kind of an overview of the semester and also an introduction to the first class. We formally get started next week. Once school starts, you can go ahead and start diving in already if you want to. Note the due dates and stay in touch, and I will see you online.